I said turn it down. Are you deaf? Ma'am, we already turned it down twice. It's barely audible now. I can still hear it. This is a quiet neighborhood. You people are being completely disrespectful. You people? We've turned it down. What more do you want? I want silence. I work from home. I have rights. And we have the right to enjoy our property. Not if you're disturbing the peace. I'm calling the police. This whole setup is suspicious anyway.
This is the story of how a simple birthday party became a criminal case. A story about a family who did everything right, and a neighbor who saw only what she wanted to see. A story about the moment when bias meets consequence. And it all started with a barbecue on a perfect Saturday afternoon. Let's rewind to that morning. August 12th, 5:30 a.m. The alarm goes off in a modest two-story house on Maple Ridge Court, and Diane Carter is already reaching for her phone. Black coffee, 2 sugars, no cream. The ritual is always the same. She sits at the kitchen table, still in her pajamas, scanning through department emails and briefing reports. On the counter, her service weapon sits in its biometric safe. On the bedroom door upstairs, her pressed uniform hangs, waiting. Diane has been doing this for 23 years. Started as a patrol officer fresh out of the academy, worked her way through detective, sergeant, and now for the past 3 years, she's held the position she never imagined she'd reach. But we'll get to that later. Today is special. It's David's birthday. Her husband, the man who's been by her side through every promotion, every late night, every difficult case. David Carter, Chief of Cardiac Surgery at Mercy Hospital. The man who saves lives while she protects them. Today he turns 48, and for the first time in months he's taken the day off. Upstairs their twins are still asleep. Kelvin and Kate, 17 years old, about to start their senior year. Kelvin wants to study criminal justice, follow in his mother's footsteps. Kate wants to be a journalist, expose the injustices her brother might have to navigate. They're good kids. Honor roll students. No trouble. The kind of children parents pray for. David is already up, standing in the kitchen in his worn Howard University t-shirt, working on his grandmother's secret rib marinade. Brown sugar, paprika, garlic powder, apple cider vinegar, and something else he won't tell anyone. Not even Diane. These ribs are legendary in their family. Every year for his birthday, David fires up the grill and creates magic. Big day, Diane says, kissing his cheek. Just another birthday, baby. 48 looks good on you. Liar, he laughs. But I appreciate it. The plan is simple. Diane goes to the station for a quick budget meeting, back by noon. David preps the food. The twins handle decorations and music. Family arrives around 1 p.m. David's parents are driving in from 2 hours away. His sister Tracy and her 2 kids. Dr. Patel from the hospital and his wife. The Washingtons, their close friends. Maybe 15 people total. Small. Intimate. Perfect. This house has been their home for 15 years. They bought it in August 2010, when the twins were barely 2 years old. Back then they were the first black family on Maple Ridge Court. Diane remembers that first day vividly. The way neighbors gathered on the street watching the moving truck. Whispering. Calculating. Judging. One older man approached David while he was carrying boxes. You folks sure you can afford this neighborhood? Property taxes here are steep. A woman stopped Diane on the sidewalk. There are other areas that might be more comfortable for you. A young couple walked by, and the woman clutched her purse tighter, crossed to the other side of the street. Diane and David exchanged a look they'd shared many times before. That look that says, here we go again. That look that asks, is this worth it? That look that answers, we're not backing down. But then Mrs. Patterson showed up. Their next-door neighbor, a 78-year-old white woman with silver hair and a warm smile. She brought a casserole and didn't ask if they could afford the house. She just said, welcome to Maple Ridge. These babies are precious. Mrs. Patterson became their shield. When someone called the police on them twice that first year for suspicious activity, they were moving furniture at night after work. Mrs. Patterson marched over to the responding officers and told them exactly who the Carters were. When someone reported their car as abandoned in their own driveway, Mrs. Patterson called the station herself and gave them a piece of her mind. When the HOA sent a complaint about their lawn, which was immaculate, Mrs. Patterson showed up to the meeting and shut it down. For 13 years, Mrs. Patterson was their guardian angel on Maple Ridge Court. And then 2 years ago she died. Diane spoke at her funeral. Kelvin and Kate helped carry her casket. And something shifted in the neighborhood after that. Like they'd lost their proof of belonging. 14 months ago, Karen Morrison moved into Mrs. Patterson's house. Single, early 40s, works from home for some tech company. The first time they met was at last year's birthday barbecue. Karen showed up at the fence and asked if they were the caterers. Not, "Hi, I'm your new neighbor." Not, "Is this your party?" Just, "Are you the caterers?" David, ever gracious, invited her to join. She declined. Said she had work to do. Since then there have been incidents. Small things. Karen calling the HOA about the twins' basketball hoop in the driveway. Karen complaining about Kelvin's car stereo at 2 p.m. on a Saturday. He was sitting in his own driveway. Karen telling Kate she didn't recognize the car Kate was driving, the family car Kate has driven for a year. 2 weeks ago, Karen called the HOA about the twins' friends loitering. They were shooting basketball. "Pick your battles," Diane told David each time. "Not worth the energy." But today, David's birthday, they're not picking battles. They're celebrating. In their home. On their property. As they have every right to do. By 12:45 p.m., Diane is back from the station, changed into jeans and a casual blouse. David is at the grill, wearing the grill sergeant apron the twins gave him last Father's Day. Kelvin is setting up speakers, creating the perfect playlist, old school R&B, Motown, some current hip-hop. The volume is moderate. They're always careful about that. Kate is arranging food on the folding tables they've set up in the backyard. Red checkered tablecloths. Paper plates with "Happy Birthday" designs. A cooler full of drinks on ice. David's parents arrive first. Grandma Jean and Grandpa Robert, both in their 70s, bringing more food than 15 people could possibly eat. Then Aunt Tracy with her kids 8 and 10 years old, already running toward the cornhole set in the yard. Dr. Patel and his wife. The Washingtons with their teenage daughter. By 1 p.m. the party is in full swing. Laughter. Conversation. The smell of ribs on the grill. Music playing at a conversational level. Children playing. Adults reminiscing. Everything perfect. It's a beautiful Saturday afternoon in August. The sun is bright but not too hot. There's a gentle breeze. A few neighbors are outside. Mr. Chin watering his garden 3 houses down, Mrs. Rodriguez getting her mail, a jogger passing by. Normal suburban Saturday. Families enjoying the weather. The Carters are just one more family celebrating life. Just one more family who has no idea that in 15 minutes, their celebration will become a crime scene. At 1:15 p.m., Karen Morrison appears at the fence line between her property and the Carters' backyard. Arms crossed. Face tight. She stands there for a full minute just staring. The family notices but continues celebrating. David is opening birthday cards from his parents. Kelvin is telling a story that has everyone laughing. The music is playing at the same moderate level it's been at for the past hour. Then Karen speaks. Her voice is sharp, loud, cutting through the laughter. "Excuse me. Can you turn that music down?" David looks up, immediately friendly. "Oh hey Karen. Sure, no problem." He signals to Kelvin, who turns the volume down 2 notches. Now the music is barely louder than the conversation. "Better?" David asks with a smile. "We're celebrating my birthday. Want to join us? Plenty of food." Karen listens for a moment. The music is so low now that you can barely hear it from her yard. But she shakes her head. "It's still too loud. I can still hear it." Diane walks over to the fence, her voice calm and measured. "Mrs. Morrison, it's the middle of the day. The music's very reasonable." "I don't care what time it is," Karen interrupts. "I work from home. I need quiet. Some of us have actual responsibilities." There it is. That subtle dig. The implication that they're not responsible. That celebrating on a Saturday afternoon means they don't have actual responsibilities. Kate hears it. She mutters under her breath. "Here we go again." But Diane stays calm. 23 years on the force has taught her de-escalation. "We understand you work from home, but it's a Saturday afternoon. We're allowed to enjoy our property. Not at everyone else's expense," Karen snaps. "This is a quiet neighborhood. We have standards." Standards. That word hangs in the air like smoke. Standards that apparently don't include black families having birthday parties. Kelvin turns the music down another notch. Now it's ambient. Background noise. quieter than the conversation happening in the yard. But Karen isn't satisfied. I can still hear bass. Turn it down more or turn it off. Grandma Jean, who has been quietly watching this exchange, leans toward Diane. Baby, why are you letting her talk to you like that? Not worth it, Mama, Diane whispers back. But David's patience is wearing thin. Karen, we've turned it down twice. It's barely on. Don't tell me what I can and can't hear. Karen's voice rises. I'm being very reasonable. You're the ones being difficult. Dr. Patel, who has been listening to this exchange with growing confusion, speaks up. Ma'am, the music is very low now. We can barely hear it ourselves. Karen turns on him. Who are you? Do you even live here? I'm Dr. Patel. I work with David at Mercy Hospital. I don't know you. How do I know you're who you say you are? Aunt Tracy stands up from her chair. What is happening right now? And that's when Karen's eyes scan the gathering. Counting. Calculating. And something shifts in her expression. This isn't about noise anymore. It never really was. How many people are even here? She demands. This looks like way more than a family gathering. It's my family and a few friends, David says, his voice tight now. For my birthday. That's allowed. Is it? Do you have a permit for this many people? Diane's eyebrows rise. A permit? For a backyard birthday party? Large gatherings require permits. I know the rules. This looks like more than 25 people. Kelvin, who has been quietly observing, starts counting out loud, pointing at each person. There's literally 15 of us, including the kids. But Karen has made up her mind. I count more than that. And with this many people, who knows what's really going on here? What's that supposed to mean? Kate's voice is sharp. I mean, this many people, music going in and out of the house. It looks suspicious. The word drops like a bomb. Suspicious. A family birthday party with children playing cornhole and elderly grandparents eating potato salad looks suspicious. Diane stands straighter. Her voice is still calm, but there's steel underneath. Suspicious. A family birthday party looks suspicious to you. Well, when you have this many people and I don't recognize most of them. You don't recognize them because they're not your family. They're ours, David says. How do I know these people are supposed to be here? How do I know you're not running some kind of operation? Grandpa Robert, who has lived through Jim Crow, who has seen worse than this but hoped his great-grandchildren never would, lets out a bitter laugh. Operation? We're eating ribs. But Karen is doubling down now. I've lived here over a year. I know this neighborhood. I've never seen gatherings this size at your house. We have a barbecue every year for Dad's birthday, Kelvin says, his voice shaking slightly. You just never came over. Well, maybe there's a reason I never came over. Maybe I have concerns about what goes on here. Concerns about what goes on here. In the Carter house. Where a police chief and a cardiac surgeon are raising honor roll students. Where the biggest crime is David's secret rib recipe. Concerns. For Diane, Karen's words trigger a memory. She's suddenly back on moving day 15 years ago. Holding 2-year-old twins while neighbors whispered and judged. The man questioning if they could afford the house. The woman suggesting other areas that might be more suitable. The years of proving themselves. The years of being perfect. The years of hoping that excellence would be enough. That success would be armor. That if they just worked hard enough, achieved enough, contributed enough, they would finally be seen as belonging. 15 years. And they're right back where they started. Having to prove they have a right to exist in their own home. Karen pulls out her phone. I'm documenting this. For the HOA and for the police if necessary. She starts filming the backyard. The birthday decorations. The food. The children. The elderly grandparents. Kelvin, who has spent his whole life being careful, being perfect, being aware of how he's perceived, realizes what's happening. You're filming us? At our own house. I have a right to document suspicious activity in my neighborhood. Kate pulls out her phone. Then we're documenting you harassing us. I'm not harassing anyone. I'm protecting this community. Diane's voice is controlled, but you can hear the anger underneath. Mrs. Morrison, you need to stop. Now. Are you threatening me? See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Aggressive behavior. Asking you to stop harassing my family is not aggressive. You're intimidating me. You're all gathered here staring at me. Grandma Jean, all 5'2" of her, 70 years old, holding a plate of potato salad, speaks up. Nobody's intimidating you, honey. We're just trying to have a birthday party. But Karen is speaking to her phone now, recording her own narrative. The residents are being hostile and refusing to comply with reasonable requests. We turn the music down 3 times, David says, his voice breaking slightly. What more do you want? I want to feel safe in my neighborhood. And right now I don't. And that's when Aunt Tracy's children start to cry. They're 8 and 10 years old. They don't understand what's happening. They don't understand why the nice party with cake and games has suddenly become scary. Why adults are yelling. Why the lady is saying she doesn't feel safe around them. Aunt Tracy picks up her daughter. You're scaring the children. Karen looks at the crying child and says something unforgivable. Maybe you shouldn't bring children to whatever this is. Whatever this is. A birthday party is whatever this is. David's voice is cold now. Whatever this is a birthday party. For me. At our home. Where we have lived for 15 years. I don't believe that. I've never seen you have gatherings this size. Kelvin, trying one more time to use logic, pulls up property records on his phone. Look. Right here. David and Diane Carter. Purchased August 2010. This address. Public record. Karen barely glances at his phone. That can be faked. Anyone can pull up fake documents. She's made her decision. No evidence will change her mind. Not property records. Not IDs. Not the birthday cake on the table or the Happy Birthday David banner hanging from the tree. She has decided what she sees and she will not be moved. Diane knows this pattern. She's seen it hundreds of times in her career. A white collar reports suspicious activity. Officers respond based on that caller's framing. The black person has to prove innocence instead of being presumed innocent. Even with evidence, the suspicion lingers. The burden of proof falls on the accused, not the accuser. She spent 23 years on the other side of these calls. Training officers on bias awareness. Implementing de-escalation protocols. Teaching her department to see people, not stereotypes. And now her own family is on the receiving end of the system she's tried to reform. She leans toward David, her voice low. She's going to call 911. David's eyes widen. Should we go inside? End the party? No. Diane's jaw is tight. We're not running from our own home. Not today. But she's scared. Not for herself. For her children. For her elderly parents. For her guests. She knows how quickly these situations escalate. She knows that even good officers can make mistakes under pressure. She knows that her badge might not protect her family if officers arrive with Karen's narrative already planted in their heads. Kelvin and Kate stand together, phones out, recording. Diane made sure they knew how to do this. Document everything. Keep your hands visible. Stay calm. Comply. Don't give them a reason. She taught her children survival tactics for police encounters the way other parents teach their kids to look both ways before crossing the street. But they shouldn't have to use those tactics at their own birthday party. Karen steps away from the fence. She's dialing. The family can hear every word. I need police at 2847 Maple Ridge Court. There's a large gathering, excessive noise, and I feel threatened. The residents are being aggressive and hostile. I don't know what's going on, but it doesn't look right. There are a lot of people here, possibly drugs or alcohol, and they're refusing to comply with requests to quiet down. Diane immediately addresses her family, her voice calm but firm. Everyone stay calm. Put down anything in your hands. Keep your hands visible. Grandpa Robert knows this drill. He lived through the 1960s. He survived situations far worse than this. But he's 75 years old, and he's having to teach his great-grandchildren the same. Survival tactics he learned 50 years ago. The same fear. The same careful movements. The same awareness that your life can end based on someone else's perception. David moves to stand near the kids. Protective. Dr. Patel's wife whispers, "Should we leave? We don't want to make trouble." No one leaves, Diane says. We've done nothing wrong. If people leave, it looks like we're hiding something. The joy has completely drained from the celebration. The children are silent. The adults are tense. The food sits untouched on the tables. The music is off. They're just standing there in their own backyard, waiting for police to arrive because a neighbor decided their existence is suspicious. Kelvin texts his friend, "Police coming to our house. For Dad's birthday party. Record this if anything happens to us." Kate is doing the same. Creating backup documentation. Preparing for the worst. Hoping for the best. But prepared for violence at their own birthday party. The sirens start in the distance. The station is only 1.7 miles away. Those 3 minutes feel like 30. Mr. Chin, who was watering his garden, has gone back inside his house. Mrs. Rodriguez is watching from her window but not coming out. A young couple walking their dog crosses to the other side of the street and hurries away. No one wants to get involved. No one wants to be a witness. 3 patrol cars pull up. It's been classified as a large gathering disturbance, so dispatch sent multiple units. 3 cars. 6 officers. 415 people eating birthday cake. Officers Johnson, Ramirez, and Stevens exit their vehicles. Karen rushes to them before they even fully emerge from their cars. Before they can see the actual situation. Before they can assess what's really happening. She's framing the narrative, her words tumble out, fast and urgent. Planting the seeds of suspicion and activating the response she wants. "Thank God you're here. They've been at it for over an hour. Loud music, refusing to turn it down, threatening me when I asked them to be considerate." Officer Johnson, a white man in his late 30s, holds up a hand. "Ma'am, slow down. What exactly is the issue?" "Noise violation. Large gathering. And when I approached them reasonably, they became aggressive and hostile. I don't feel safe." Officer Ramirez, a young Latina woman, pulls out her notepad. "How many people are we talking about?" "At least 25, maybe 30. Too many for a residential gathering. And I don't know most of these people. They claim it's a birthday party, but it looks suspicious." Officer Stevens, a black man in his early 40s, asks the obvious question. "Suspicious how?" "Just the number of people, the noise, people going in and out of the house. I don't know what they're doing in there." The 3 officers approach the fence line and assess the scene. What they see is a backyard with folding tables covered in red checkered tablecloths. Birthday decorations hanging from trees. A "Happy Birthday David" banner. Food platters. A birthday cake. Children standing near a cornhole set. Elderly people in lawn chairs. About 15 people total, all standing awkwardly, visibly tense. The music is completely off now. There's no noise at all except the sound of Karen's voice and the officer's footsteps. Ramirez leans toward Johnson and speaks quietly. "This looks like a normal birthday party." "Still need to check it out," Johnson replies. Caller seemed genuinely concerned. He approaches the fence. "Good afternoon. We received a noise complaint. Who's the homeowner here?" Diane Carter steps forward. Her hands are visible at her sides. Her voice is calm and clear. I'm Chief Diane Carter. This is my home, my family, and my husband's birthday party." All 3 officers stop mid-step. The air changes. Officer Stevens's eyes widen. "Chief Carter?" "Yes, Officer Stevens." "Officer Johnson." "Officer Ramirez. I believe you all know who I am." Johnson's face goes pale. His mouth opens then closes. "Chief, we didn't know." "I understand you're responding to a call," Diane says, her voice steady. "I'd like you to assess the actual situation, not just the caller's narrative." Karen, who has been standing behind the officers, suddenly realizes what she's done. Her voice comes out shaky. "Wait, you're the police chief?" Diane turns to her slowly. When she speaks, every word is measured. "Yes, Mrs. Morrison. I'm the chief of police for this city. I've held this position for 3 years. Before that, deputy chief for 5 years. Before that, detective sergeant. 23 years total. My husband is Dr. David Carter, chief of cardiac surgery at Mercy Hospital. These are our children, Kelvin and Kate, 17 years old, born at Mercy Hospital down the road. We've lived in this house for 15 years. We've been your neighbors for 14 months. Did you ever think to ask us who we were before calling the police?" Karen's deflating. Her voice is barely a whisper. I didn't know. Kate can't stay silent. "You didn't want to know." Johnson is extremely uncomfortable now. He knows he has to complete the call, but he's also just realized he responded to a complaint against his boss's family. "Chief, I apologize, but we do need to complete the call." "I know the protocol, Officer Johnson." I wrote parts of it. Do your job properly. Ramirez returns to her patrol car and retrieves a decibel reader. She walks back to the property line and takes readings. The device shows 48 decibels. Conversation level. She looks at her notes. Residential limit during daytime hours is 75 decibels. Current level is well below threshold. Johnson turns to Karen. Ma'am, you said the music was excessively loud? It was. They turned it down after I complained. How many times did they turn it down? Stevens asked. Karen's voice is quiet now. 3 times. And you still weren't satisfied? I could still hear it. Johnson's voice is patient but firm. Ma'am, hearing music from a neighbor's yard in the middle of the day isn't a violation. That's just living in a neighborhood. He walks along the property line, observing everything. The birthday cake on the table with "Happy Birthday, David" written in blue frosting. The children's cornhole game. The folding chairs. The cooler full of drinks. He counts the people. 15 total, including children and elderly folks. He turns back to Karen. You said 25 to 30 people? It looked like more. Ramirez addresses the family. Can I see IDs for the homeowners? Diane pulls out her driver's license and her police badge. Diane Michelle Carter, Chief of Police, this address. David produces his hospital ID and driver's license. Dr. David Carter, Chief of Cardiac Surgery at Mercy Hospital, same address. The humiliation of it. Having to prove their identity at their own birthday party. In their own backyard. To officers Diane supervises. Kelvin and Kate hold up their IDs too, unprompted. We were born here, Kelvin says, his voice tight. This is our house. Dr. Patel approaches the officers. I'm Dr. Amit Patel, I work with Dr. Carter at Mercy Hospital. I can verify this is his birthday party. We've been here for about 90 minutes. Nothing inappropriate has occurred. Grandma Jean can't stay quiet anymore. She stands up from her chair, all 5'2" of her, voice shaking with emotion. Officers, I'm Jean Carter, David's mother. We drove 2 hours to celebrate our son's birthday. We brought potato salad and green beans and a coconut cake. Is that a crime now? Is it a crime to celebrate your child? Stevens's voice is gentle. No, ma'am. I'm sorry you're going through this. Johnson returns his attention to Karen. Ma'am, you mentioned suspicious activity on the 911 call. What specific criminal activity did you witness? I didn't say criminal, I said suspicious. You told dispatch possibly drugs or alcohol, Ramirez interrupts. Did you actually see drugs? No, but with that many people. That many people? Ramirez's voice rises slightly. There's 15 people, including children, at a birthday party, with birthday cake. What exactly looks like drug activity? The potato salad? Karen has no response. She's standing there, arms wrapped around herself, realizing the hole she's dug. Johnson addresses Diane directly. Chief, I need to ask, did anyone in your party threaten Mrs. Morrison? No. She complained about noise. We turned the music down 3 times. She continued to escalate, filming us, making accusations. We asked her to stop. That's the extent of the interaction. Mrs. Morrison, did anyone physically threaten you or make verbal threats? Karen is trapped now. They seemed aggressive. Aggressive how? Stevens asks. Specifically. The way they looked at me. All of them. It was intimidating. Stevens's voice is incredulous. Looking at you is intimidating? Silence. Heavy, uncomfortable silence. Mrs. Rodriguez finally emerges from her house. She's been watching from her window this whole time, and her conscience won't let her stay silent anymore. She walks across her lawn and approaches the officers. Officers, I saw everything from my window. The Carters were just having a birthday party. Normal volume. She points directly at Karen, kept complaining even after they turned it down multiple times. They weren't threatening anyone. She was harassing them. Johnson asks the question that's been hanging in the air. Why didn't you come out earlier, ma'am? Mrs. Rodriguez looks ashamed. I didn't want to get involved. But this is wrong. I can't stay silent. Johnson turns back to Diane. Chief, this appears to be an unfounded complaint. Diane cuts him off. Her voice is controlled, but the emotion is breaking through. This isn't just an unfounded complaint, Officer Johnson. This is racial profiling. In my home. In front of my children. In front of my 70-year-old parents. On my husband's birthday. Her voice cracks slightly on the word birthday, and everyone can hear the pain underneath the professionalism. How would you like us to proceed? Johnson asks. I want a full incident report from all three of you. Complete body cam footage from arrival to departure. The 911 call recording. Mrs. Morrison's statement. Mrs. Rodriguez's witness statement. I want everything on my desk Monday morning, 8 a.m. sharp. Yes, Chief, Ramirez says. Chief, I'm so sorry this happened, Stevens begins. Don't apologize to me, Officer Stevens. Do your job correctly so it doesn't happen to someone else. Someone without a badge. Someone who doesn't have the power to demand accountability. Someone who might not survive the encounter. Stevens nods, understanding the deeper message she's sending. Johnson addresses Karen one more time. Ma'am, false reporting is a crime. You reported criminal activity with no evidence. You claimed 25 to 30 people when there are 15. You said the music was excessive when it's well below legal limits. You activated an emergency response. 3 patrol cars, 6 officers, diverted from actual emergencies. Do you understand the seriousness of what you've done? Karen is crying now. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Kate can't stay quiet anymore. It wasn't a mistake. You saw black people having a party and decided we were criminals. That's not a mistake. That's racism. That's not. I'm not racist. Kelvin stands up. Then what would you call it? What did you see that was actually criminal? Birthday cake? Ribs? Children playing cornhole? My grandmother's potato salad? What part of this looks like drug activity? Karen has no answer. The officers exchange glances. They all know what this is. They've all responded to calls like this before, calls where the suspicious activity is just black people existing. But this time the victim is their chief. And that changes everything. Diane speaks again. I'll decide on Monday whether to pursue charges. For now, document everything. Every detail. Every statement. Every observation. I want this investigation to be thorough and complete. The officers return to their vehicles. Karen stands alone on her lawn, the weight of what she's done finally settling on her shoulders. Other neighbors are emerging now. The drama is over, so suddenly it's safe to be curious. Mr. Chin comes out of his house looking ashamed. Chief Carter, I'm so sorry. I should have come out. I should have said something when she first started harassing you. Diane is too tired to be angry. Yes, you should have. The birthday party is completely ruined. The food has gone cold. The cake is melting in the afternoon heat. The decorations look absurd now, cheerful symbols of a celebration that died the moment sirens sounded. What was supposed to be a joyful gathering is now evidence in a potential criminal case. The family tries to salvage the party, but nobody has the energy. Grandma Jean starts packing up food, wrapping plates in aluminum foil, her hands shaking slightly. Let's go inside, babies. David is standing by the grill, staring at the ribs he spent all morning preparing. Perfect bark. Perfect smoke ring. Completely untouched. His eyes are wet, but he's not crying. Not yet. Diane walks over and wraps her arms around him from behind. I'm so sorry, baby. Not your fault, he whispers. Never your fault. But it feels like fault. It feels like the fault of living while black, celebrating while black, existing while black, having the audacity to think that success and education and respectability would be armor against this. It feels like fault for believing that 15 years of perfect lawn maintenance and neighborhood friendliness and never giving anyone a reason would earn them the right to have a birthday party in peace. Upstairs, Kelvin and Kate are reviewing the footage on their phones. 2 angles of the entire confrontation. Crystal clear video of Karen escalating. Audio of everything she said. Documentation of the family's compliance, their de-escalation attempts, their repeated efforts to accommodate her. We should post this, Kelvin says. Put it on social media. Let everyone see what she did. Diane shakes her head. Not yet. Why not? This is exactly what you always tell us to do. Document everything. Expose injustice. Create accountability. I know what I said. But if this goes viral before I handle it internally, it becomes a media circus. It stops being about justice and becomes about clicks and views and hot takes. Give me the weekend. Kate's voice is sharp. And if you handle it internally, it gets swept under the rug. We've seen this before, Mom. Black person reports racism, department investigates itself, finds no wrongdoing, everyone moves on. Why would this be different? Because I won't let it be swept under the rug. I promise you. But Diane can see it in her children's eyes. Their faith in the system she represents, the system she's devoted her life to improving, is cracking. And she doesn't know how to repair it. Dr. Patel and his wife quietly excuse themselves. We're so sorry, David. This shouldn't have happened to you. To any of you. Other guests follow. The Washingtons. David's co-workers. By 3 p.m., only immediate family remains. The backyard is full of decorations that now feel like mockery. The Happy Birthday David banner flapping in the breeze. The cornhole game abandoned mid-round. The birthday cake with Happy 48th written in blue frosting untouched. Diane's phone has been buzzing constantly. Text from her deputy chief. Word is spreading through the department. Are you okay? What do you need? Text from the mayor. We need to talk about this incident before Monday. This could become a significant issue. Text from 3 different reporters. Heard there was an incident at your residence involving officers responding to a call. Can you comment? Would you like to make a statement? How did news travel this fast? One of the neighbors must have posted on social media about seeing 3 patrol cars. Or maybe someone at dispatch talked. In a city this size, everyone knows everyone. And when the police chief has cops called on her family, people notice. This is becoming public whether Diane wants it to or not. An hour later, Karen appears at the fence again. Her face is blotchy from crying. Please. I need to explain. David, who has been holding everything in for hours, finally explodes. Explain what? Explain how you ruined my birthday? Explain how you traumatized my children? Explain how you made my 70-year-old parents have to prove they have the right to celebrate their son? Explain how you called the police on us for eating birthday cake. Karen is sobbing. I'm so sorry. Your apology means nothing. David's voice is shaking. You looked at my family, my elderly parents, my children, my wife who serves the city, and saw criminals. That's who you are. That's what you chose to see. Now live with it. He turns and goes inside, slamming the door behind him. Karen stands there for a moment, then walks back to her house. Inside, David finally breaks down. He's sitting at the kitchen table, head in his hands, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. 48 years old. Chief of cardiac surgery. Respected physician. Published researcher. Saves lives every week in the operating room. And he can't have a birthday party without police being called. Grandpa Robert sits down beside his son. He doesn't say anything at first. Just puts a hand on David's shoulder. Then quietly, I know, son. David's voice is muffled by his hands. Do you? Do you know what it's like to do everything right? College, medical school, career, family, perfect credit score, perfect lawn, perfect neighbors, and still be treated like this? Yes, Grandpa Robert says. I do. Different era, same disease. In my day, they didn't need a reason to call the police. They just did it. Because they could. Because we existed. I hope things would be different for you. For your children. When does it end, Dad? When do we get to just exist? When do we get to have a birthday party without it becoming a crime scene? Grandpa Robert is quiet for a long time. I don't know, son. I'm 75 years old and I still don't know the answer to that question. Upstairs, Kelvin is in his room rage texting his friends. Police called on us for my dad's birthday party. At our house. By our racist neighbor. The responses flood in. WTF. Are you serious? This is insane. Post the video. Expose her. Kelvin wants to. Every fiber of his being wants to post the footage, tag the location, name Karen Morrison, and let the internet do what the internet does. He wants the world to see what she did. He wants consequences. He wants justice. But he promised his mom 48 hours. So he waits. Kate is in her room writing furiously. The article is forming in her mind, taking shape on the screen. The birthday party that required badge and proof. My family's experience with racial profiling. She's not waiting for the school paper. She's submitting this to every outlet that will take it. Local newspaper. Regional magazines. national platforms. She's a journalist and this is her story to tell. Her family's story. And she's going to make sure it's heard. Downstairs, Grandma Jean is making tea. It's what she always does in a crisis. Tea and prayer. Old remedies for wounds that never fully heal. Aunt Tracy is helping and the two women work in quiet solidarity. They've both experienced this before. Different circumstances, same essential violation. The exhaustion of generational trauma. The weight of constantly having to prove your humanity. Saturday evening, Diane's phone rings. The mayor. Diane, I've gotten 6 calls about this. Concerned citizens, council members, the press. What exactly happened? A neighbor racially profiled my family and called police to our birthday party. The optics are terrible. Diane's voice goes cold. The optics? My children were terrified. My husband's birthday was ruined. My parents, who lived through Jim Crow, who survived actual violence, had to watch their grandchildren be treated like suspects. And you're worried about optics. You know what I mean. This will be in the news Monday morning. We need a unified response. A statement prepared. We don't need anything. I need to decide how to handle someone who weaponized MY department against MY family. Be careful, Diane. This is personal for you. Don't let emotion cloud your judgment. Don't make decisions you might regret. My judgment is perfectly clear. I'm pursuing criminal charges. Goodbye, Mayor. She hangs up before he can respond. Sunday morning, Diane receives the incident reports and body cam footage. She makes coffee, black, 2 sugars, and sits at her kitchen table with her laptop. For 2 hours she watches. Officer Johnson's body cam shows his arrival, shows Karen rushing to meet him, shows her framing the narrative before he even sees the party. It shows his initial approach, the tension in his shoulders, the way his hand stayed near his weapon until he confirmed who Diane was. Officer Ramirez's body cam shows her taking decibel readings, counting people, documenting the scene. Her quiet comment to Johnson, "This looks like a normal birthday party." Officer Stevens's body cam captures Karen's face when she realizes Diane is the chief. The deflation. The panic. The awareness that she's made a catastrophic mistake. Then Diane listens to the 911 call recording. Karen's voice speaking to the dispatcher. There's a large gathering at 2847 Maple Ridge Court. Very loud music. I've asked them multiple times to turn it down and they're being aggressive. I don't know all these people. It doesn't look right. Possibly drugs or alcohol involved. I feel threatened. Are you in immediate danger, ma'am? I don't know. There's a lot of them. I just don't feel safe. Every word was calculated. Diane has listened to thousands of 911 calls in her career and she knows the codes. She knows the magic words that trigger maximum response. Large gathering, sounds dangerous, out of control. Aggressive, implies violence. Don't know all these people, suggests strangers not family. Doesn't look right, vague but ominous. Possibly drugs or alcohol, criminal activity. A lot of them, threat by numbers. Don't feel safe, justifies emergency response. Karen knew exactly what she was doing. And the department responded exactly as trained. With force. With backup. With suspicion. Because the system treats caller bias as gospel truth. Diane makes a call. The city's prosecuting attorney, Patricia Williams. They went through the academy together 23 years ago. Patricia went to law school. Diane stayed in patrol. But they've remained friends, colleagues, occasional collaborators on cases. Patricia, I need to file charges. False reporting. My neighbor called 911 on my family's birthday party, reported drug activity with absolutely zero evidence, caused a 3-car response. Patricia sighs. Diane can hear the weariness in that sigh. Diane, you know these cases are hard to prosecute. I thought I saw something, is usually enough to avoid charges. Juries give white women a lot of benefit of the doubt when they say they felt scared. Not this time. I have body cam footage showing no criminal activity whatsoever. Witness statements. Proof she lied about the number of people, the noise level, everything. She weaponized police response because she's racist. Period. Can you prove racial motivation? She's called in complaints about us 5 times in 14 months. Basketball in driveway. Kids playing. Car stereo during daytime hours. Every single complaint was unfounded. Every single one. This isn't one incident. This is a pattern of targeted harassment. Patricia is quiet for a moment. That does help. Pattern evidence is powerful. Send me everything. I'll review it this weekend and let you know Monday if we have enough for charges. We have enough, Diane says. I'm not asking as a favor. I'm asking for justice. If this happened to any other family in this city, they'd have the right to press charges. My family deserves the same. I agree. Send me the files. Diane also calls Officer Johnson directly. She needs to know something. Johnson, I need complete honesty. What were you thinking when you arrived on scene? There's a long pause. When Johnson speaks, his voice is heavy with shame. Chief, I'm ashamed to say this, but when dispatch said large gathering, and we pulled up and I saw a lot of black people, and for a second, just a second, I believed the caller's narrative. That this might be a problem. That something might be wrong. It took seeing your badge, for me to really question that initial assessment. How long is a second? Long enough to approach with my guard up. Long enough to treat your family like suspects instead of citizens. Long enough to make your children afraid. I'm sorry, Chief. That was bias. My bias. Diane appreciates the honesty. Put that in a supplemental report. Every detail. What you felt, what you assumed, what you learned. Be specific about the bias. You're not suspending me? You followed protocol. You were biased, yes, but you also recognized it and reassessed. The problem isn't just you, Johnson. It's the protocol. It's the system that treats caller bias as absolute truth. We fix both. You're going to help me do that. Sunday afternoon, Diane is at her kitchen table drafting a policy proposal. New protocols for dispatch. Enhanced questioning when callers report suspicious activity without articulating specific crimes. New training for officers on recognizing caller bias, not just subject behavior. A complete overhaul of how the department responds to these calls. She calls her deputy chief. I need this implemented. And I'm going public with it. Are you sure? This is very personal for you. That's exactly why I have to do it. If it happened to me, with my badge, my position, my authority, how many families without that protection suffer in silence? How many families have police called on them for barbecues and basketball games and existing while black? And when they file complaints, they're dismissed, ignored, told they're overreacting. I can't be silent. Not about this. When are you going public? Press conference Wednesday. I want the policy proposal ready by then. I want data on false reports in the city. I want everything documented and ready to present. You'll have it. Sunday evening, the Carter family gathers in the living room. Everyone is exhausted, emotionally drained, but they need to make decisions together. Diane speaks first. I've reviewed everything. Karen made a racially motivated false report. The officers responded with bias despite following protocol. The system failed us, the system I helped build. And I'm not letting that stand. So what happens now? Kelvin asks. I'm filing criminal charges. False reporting, misuse of emergency services. Patricia at the prosecutor's office is reviewing the case. If she agrees we have enough evidence, charges will be filed Monday. Will Karen actually face consequences? Kate's voice is skeptical. Yes. If convicted, it's a misdemeanor. Up to 90 days in jail, $1,000 fine, mandatory community service, probation. But more importantly, it's a criminal record. Public accountability. It sends a message that this behavior has consequences. David speaks quietly. Good. She needs to face real consequences. Not just an apology. Not just, oh, I'm sorry I made a mistake. Real consequences. Kelvin's question is harder. What about us? What do we get? Diane pauses. This is the hard truth. We get justice, hopefully. But we don't get back what she took. We don't get back your dad's birthday. We don't get back your sense of safety. We don't get back the ability to have a party in our own home without fear. Justice isn't equal, Kelvin. It's not fair. But it's what we have. So she might spend 90 days in jail, which she probably won't even serve, and we live with this trauma forever? Yes. That's the reality. I'm sorry. Grandma Jean asks the next question. What else are you doing, baby? I'm calling a press conference Wednesday. New dispatch protocols. Enhanced training. Policy changes. I'm making this public. The whole neighborhood will know, Grandpa Robert says. They already know. 3 police cars in our driveway. People talk. Better they hear the truth from us than rumors from gossip. We control our narrative. David sits up straighter. I want to be there. At the press conference. You don't have to. Yes, I do. She didn't just come after you because you're the police chief. She came after all of us because we're black. We face this together. Kelvin nods. I want to speak too. Me too, Kate adds. Diane's eyes fill with tears. Are you sure? Once you speak publicly, it's out there forever. Your names. Your faces. Your story. You can't take it back. Kelvin's voice is steady. Good. I want it on record. What she did. What it felt like. So the next black kid who has police called on them knows they're not alone. So they know it's not their fault. So they know they can fight back. The family sits in silence, united in pain and purpose. Monday morning, Diane's phone rings. Patricia. I've reviewed everything. We're filing charges. 2 counts. False reporting of a crime, Class A misdemeanor. Misuse of emergency services, Class B misdemeanor. The body cam footage is damning. The witness statements are solid. The pattern of harassment is documented. We have a strong case. Timeline? Charges filed today. She'll be officially notified by end of week. Arraignment within 10 days. Given her lack of criminal history, she'll likely be released on her own recognizance pending trial. What are we looking at for sentencing if convicted? For both charges combined. Up to 90 days jail time, $1,500 in fines, mandatory community service, probation. Realistically, as a first-time offender, she'll probably get probation, a substantial fine, and significant community service. Maybe suspended jail time. But the criminal record is permanent. I want victim impact statements at sentencing. From my whole family. Absolutely. Your family deserves to be heard. This case is solid, Diane. She's going to face consequences. Diane meets with officers Johnson, Ramirez, and Stevens. They sit in her office, all 3 visibly uncomfortable. They've worked under Chief Carter for years. They respect her. They know what happened was wrong. What happened Saturday exposed a fundamental flaw in our system, Diane begins. When callers use words like suspicious, large gathering, doesn't look right, without articulating actual criminal activity, we still respond with full force. That needs to change. What are you proposing, Chief? Ramirez asks. New dispatch protocols. When a caller cannot specify a crime, only a concern, dispatch will ask follow-up questions. What specific behavior concerns you? What crime do you believe is occurring? Have you attempted to speak with the individuals directly? Can you describe what you're actually seeing? These questions reveal bias before we even roll out. Johnson struggles to find words. That's a complete shift in how we operate. Yes, because the current system allows people to weaponize us. We become enforcers of bias instead of enforcers of law. People know the magic words to say, suspicious, threatening, drugs, and we respond without questioning whether there's actual criminal activity. We need to be smarter. Stevens leans forward. What do you need from us, Chief? I need you 3 to help develop this training. You were there. You felt the bias in yourselves. You can teach other officers to recognize it, in callers and in themselves. This isn't about punishment. This is about making sure what happened to my family doesn't happen to others. All 3 officers agree. Diane schedules a press conference for Wednesday. Then she calls the mayor. I'm holding a press conference Wednesday at 10 a.m. Criminal charges have been filed against Karen Morrison. I'll be announcing new department policies. You can attend or not. But I'm doing this. Criminal charges? The mayor's voice rises. Diane, that seems extreme. Can't this be handled quietly? Extreme? Extreme is having 3 police cars show up to a birthday party because someone decided black people celebrating is suspicious. Extreme is my children having to document their own birthday party in case they needed evidence of their innocence. Extreme is my 70-year-old parents reliving trauma from the Jim Crow era in 2025. Don't talk to me about extreme. Think about the political ramifications. I'm thinking that if I stay silent, I'm complicit. I'm thinking that every black family in this city deserves better. I'm thinking that my job is to serve and protect everyone, not just the people who feel comfortable calling 911 on their neighbors. I'll see you Wednesday. Or I won't. She hangs up. Thursday afternoon, a sheriff's deputy knocks on Karen Morrison's door. She opens it, sees the uniform, and her face goes pale. Karen Morrison? Yes. You're being served with criminal charges. He hands her the papers. Karen's hands shake as she reads. Charge 1, false reporting of a crime. Charge 2, misuse of emergency services. Arraignment date, August 22, 10 a.m. She tries to call Diane. Straight to voicemail. She sends a text. Please. Can't we work this out without court? I'm so sorry. Please. Diane's response is immediate and cold. You made this a legal matter when you called 911. See you in court. Tuesday morning the story breaks. Local news first, then regional, then national. Police chief files criminal charges against neighbor who called 911 on family birthday party. Social media explodes. Hashtag BBQ Karen starts trending. People share their own stories of having police called on them for existing while black. The pattern becomes undeniable. I had police called on me for sitting in my own car outside my own apartment. Police called on my son for playing basketball in our driveway. Police called on our family reunion at a public park. Police called on me for birdwatching while black. The stories flood in. Hundreds. Thousands. A national pattern of weaponized 911 calls. Karen's employer, a tech company, issues a statement. We're reviewing this matter internally. Within 48 hours, Karen is placed on administrative leave. Her actions now have professional consequences too. Kate's article is published in the school newspaper and immediately picked up by the regional newspaper's website. The birthday party that required proof, when being black in your own home isn't enough. It goes viral. 2,000 shares in 24 hours. Comments flood in from people who've experienced similar harassment. The article is eventually republished in a national magazine. Mr. Chin appears on local news, his voice shaking. I watched from my yard. I knew it was wrong. I said nothing. I failed as a neighbor, as a human being. My silence made me complicit. I'm sorry. Mrs. Rodriguez gives an interview. I was scared to get involved. But silence protects racism. I should have spoken up immediately. To the Carter family and every family I've failed by staying quiet, I'm deeply ashamed. The neighborhood divides along predictable lines. Some neighbors are supportive. The Carters are wonderful people. This was racism, pure and simple. Others are defensive. Now we can't even call police when we're concerned? This is being blown out of proportion. On Nextdoor, the neighborhood social media platform, one neighbor posts, so now we can't call the police when something seems off? When we feel unsafe. Another responds, what seemed off about birthday cake and children playing? Be specific. No response. Wednesday 10 a.m. The press conference at City Hall. The room is packed. Local media, regional reporters, some national outlets. The story has legs. Diane stands at the podium in full uniform. David, Kelvin, and Kate stand beside her. The mayor is in the back looking uncomfortable. On Saturday, August 12th, my family held a birthday party at our home. 15 people. Family and close friends. We were celebrating my husband's 48th birthday. A neighbor called 911 and falsely reported drug activity, claimed she felt threatened by 15 people eating ribs and birthday cake, and triggered a 3-car police response. Criminal charges have been filed, 2 counts of false reporting and misuse of emergency services. She pauses, letting that sink in. I'm speaking publicly because this is not unique to my family. This happens to black families, brown families, immigrant families, families who don't fit someone's narrow definition of belonging. And it happens because we've created systems that weaponize police response against communities of color. She announces the policy changes. Enhanced dispatcher questioning protocols. Bias recognition training. Accountability measures for false reports. A complete overhaul of how the department responds to vague, suspicious activity calls. Then David steps to the microphone. His voice is steady, but you can hear the emotion underneath. I'm 48 years old. I'm chief of cardiac surgery at Mercy Hospital. I save lives. Last week, I performed 3 open-heart surgeries. I mentor medical students. I volunteer at free clinics. And I couldn't celebrate my birthday without police being called. That's not a neighbor being concerned. That's racism. Kelvin speaks next. His voice shakes but grows stronger. I'm 17. I'm applying to colleges. I want to study criminal justice. And at my dad's birthday party, I was ready to record my own potential death. Because I've been trained, by my mom, by life, by being black in America, to expect violence when police arrive. I had my phone out, recording, creating evidence in case something went wrong. At a birthday party. That's what living while black means. That's what we're trying to change. Kate's voice is clear and determined. I'm a journalist. I wrote about what happened because silence protects the people who harm us. My article went viral because this isn't rare. It's common. Painfully, exhaustingly common. People across this country are sharing their stories of having police called on them for barbecues, for swimming, for sitting in coffee shops, for existing. We're not staying silent anymore. Mrs. Rodriguez steps to the microphone, uninvited but necessary. I'm Maria Rodriguez. I've lived on Maple Ridge Court for 8 years. I watched from my window on Saturday. I knew it was wrong. I didn't speak up until officers were already there. To the Carter family and every family I've failed by staying silent. I'm sorry. To everyone watching, silence protects racism. We have to do better. I have to do better. Questions from reporters. Chief Carter, what happens if your neighbor is convicted? Up to 90 days jail time, fines, community service, probation, and a permanent criminal record. She'll face consequences. Some critics say you're using your position to retaliate against a neighbor. Diane's voice is steel. I'm using my position to ensure equal justice. Anyone else who filed a false report of this nature would be charged. My neighbor doesn't get a pass because she targeted a police chief's family. She gets the same justice anyone else would get. That's equality. Do you think this press conference will change anything? Kelvin takes the microphone. It already has. Because we're not staying silent. Because other families are sharing their stories. Because police departments across the country are now asking, how do we stop this? Change starts with one family standing up. We're standing up. 2 weeks later, Karen's arraignment. She appears with her attorney, an expensive lawyer in a sharp suit. She pleads not guilty. The judge sets a trial date for October. Karen's attorney requests plea negotiations. The prosecutor's office declines. Your client had multiple opportunities to de-escalate. She chose to escalate. She chose to file a false report. She chose to weaponize police response against a family having a birthday party. We're going to trial. Outside the courthouse, reporters surround Karen. Ms. Morrison, do you have anything to say to the Carter family? Karen is crying. I'm sorry. I made a terrible mistake. I never meant. A reporter interrupts. Some people are calling it racism, not a mistake. How do you respond? Karen gets in her car without answering. 1 month later, reality sets in. Karen's attorney calls Patricia with a plea offer. Karen will plead guilty to both charges in exchange for recommended sentencing. The sentencing hearing is packed. Media. Supporters. Curious observers. Karen sits at the defendant's table looking small and frightened. The victim impact statements begin. David goes first. Karen Morrison didn't just ruin a birthday. She traumatized my children. She made my elderly parents, who survived actual violence during the civil rights era, relive decades of discrimination and fear. She took our sense of safety. She took our peace. She took our right to celebrate in our own home without fear. I'm 48 years old, and I had to prove I deserve to exist in my own backyard. That's what she did to us. Kelvin is next. His voice cracks but he pushes through. I can't have friends over anymore without anxiety. Every car that slows down near our house, I wonder if someone's calling the police on us again. I'm 17, and I spent my dad's birthday party preparing to document my own potential death. That's not normal. That shouldn't be normal. But that's what Ms. Morrison taught me, that my existence is suspicious. That's the trauma I'll carry. Kate speaks with journalist precision. I documented everything because I thought I might need evidence that my family existed. That we belonged. That we weren't criminals for eating birthday cake. I'm 17 years old, and I've already learned that my blackness makes me suspect. That's what Ms. Morrison reinforced. That lesson will shape how I move through the world for the rest of my life. Diane's statement is last. As a police chief, I see the damage false reports cause. Resources diverted from actual emergencies. Lives endangered. Communities harmed. Officers forced into situations where split-second decisions can end in tragedy. As a mother, I see the trauma these calls cause my children. Both are unacceptable. Karen Morrison weaponized the system I've devoted my life to improving. She turned my officers into instruments of harassment. That cannot stand. The judge looks at Karen Morrison for a long moment. Ms. Morrison, you weaponized law enforcement against your neighbors because of their race. You knew the words to say. Suspicious. Large gathering. Drugs. Threatened. You activated an emergency response for a birthday party. Your actions had criminal consequences. They also had human consequences that this family will live with far longer than your probation period. Sentencing, 30 days jail time suspended. 2 years probation. 200 hours of community service to be completed with a racial justice organization. $2,000 fine. Mandatory completion of an intensive anti-bias program. Any violation of probation results in immediate jail time. I hope you use this time to truly understand the harm you caused. Court is adjourned. Karen loses her job. Her company terminates her employment during the probation period. Can't afford the mortgage on unemployment benefits. Lists her house for sale 3 months after sentencing. By November, she's moved out of state. She never speaks to the Carters again. 3 months after sentencing, the Carter family has Thanksgiving. Small gathering. Immediate family only. They're in the backyard on a mild November afternoon. Music playing at moderate volume. Marvin Gaye, What's Going On? Kelvin speaks what they're all thinking. Still feels weird being out here. I know, baby, Diane says. David adds, but we're here. We're not hiding. Kate asks the hard question. Karen's gone. She faced consequences. Why doesn't it feel like enough? Grandma Jean answers with the wisdom of 70 years. Because consequences don't heal trauma, baby. Time does. Family does. Knowing you stood up for yourselves does. But the hurt? The hurt takes time. New neighbors move into Karen's house the following month. An interracial couple with a toddler. They introduce themselves immediately, bringing homemade cookies. We heard what happened to you. We're so sorry. We're honored to be your neighbors. Small hope that things can be different. Karen Morrison was convicted of false reporting and misuse of emergency services. She served no jail time but paid $2,000 in fines, completed 200 hours of community service with a racial justice organization, and remains on probation. She lost her job. She moved out of state. The criminal conviction remains on her record permanently. But this story isn't really about Karen Morrison. It's about what came after. The department's new dispatch protocols reduced racially motivated police calls by 31% in 6 months. 3 neighboring departments adopted similar policies. Officer Johnson now leads bias recognition training and has trained over 200 officers. He tells them about the day he responded to his chief's house and realized his own bias almost made him part of the problem. Chief Carter testified before the state legislature. Her testimony, combined with data from dozens of cities showing the pattern of weaponized 911 calls, led to a new law. Enhanced 911 call verification protocols are now required statewide. Dispatchers must ask specific questions when callers report vague, suspicious activity. The law passed unanimously. It's called the Carter Family Act. Kelvin was accepted early decision to Howard University. He's studying criminal justice and sociology, researching the intersection of implicit bias and policing. His senior thesis is titled, When Birthday Cake Becomes Probable Cause, Weaponized 911 Calls and Systemic Racism. Kate's article won a Regional Journalism Award. Her follow-up investigation, the 847 families who had police called on them, a national investigation, exposed the massive scope of the problem. She's been accepted to Columbia's journalism school with a full scholarship. But the trauma remains. Kelvin still gets anxious when patrol cars slow down near their house. Kate still records interactions with unfamiliar neighbors. David still carries the sadness of a birthday that should have been joyful. Diane still questions whether the system she built can truly be reformed. Karen's conviction didn't erase what happened. It didn't heal the trauma. Justice never does. But it established something crucial: consequences. You can't weaponize police against black families without facing justice. You can't call 911 because you don't like the color of your neighbors without criminal penalties. Justice isn't perfect. Sometimes it's not even satisfying. The punishment rarely matches the harm. The legal system can't undo trauma. Can't restore what was stolen. Can't give back the birthday party or the sense of safety or the innocence of believing your neighbors see you as human. But it's what we have. And the Carter family, like countless families before them, chose to fight for it anyway. Because staying silent protects the people who harm us. And silence is no longer an option. This family's fight led to real change. If their story matters to you, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share this video. Their courage deserves to be seen. What would you do if this happened to your family? Would you press charges? Would you go public? Tell me in the comments.